You are not a balanced football team. You have a Heisman Trophy contender at quarterback. Carson Beck is only going to get better as time goes on. That was Greg McElroy, who never had a shortage of things to say about football, generally speaking, and certainly about his old defensive coordinator, Kirby Smart. Georgia and Florida, a big game this weekend. Georgia's biggest game of the year every year, the Gators. And that was Greg McElroy just after Georgia finished playing Vanderbilt last week. And let's just talk about this for a little bit because what Greg McElroy's point is, hey, you're not a balanced offense. You are a passing offense. That's what you do. You've got a guy who is he's saying a Heisman Trophy contender. I'm not sure, as a Heisman Trophy voter, I'm not sure if that's completely the case, but Carson Beck's got 5 games here, really 6 to do some damage and make that come true. Greg McElroy is saying they're not balanced. All right, so they are the number 5 off. They are the number 3 total offense in the country, number 3 overall. That's for yards. In terms of scoring, they're number 7. Okay, of the 2 categories, you can either run the ball or throw the ball on offense. There's no third way of doing it. Rushing, Georgia is number 47 in the country at 172 yards a game. That's actually not that bad, the 172. It's not unbelievable. They've actually been better than that lately, and I'll get to some numbers on that in a second. But they are the number 5 passing team in the country. Now, does that sound right? Does that sound like something that you're sort of used to? Don't you remember back in the day when people said, "Well, Kirby just wants to grind it out"? No, he don't care. He just wants to score points. Period. I can assure you of that. But do you think that Greg McElroy is correct in saying, hey, quit acting like you're balanced when you're not? I don't know who he's like talking to in all of this. I guess he's saying that to Kirby. I don't know. I don't know how long their relationship has gone back. I mean, at least since 2008 and 9. I guess since 2007. But if you look at the way Georgia has played lately, they have run the ball effectively very well lately. Okay, and what I mean by lately is all the games except Auburn. So from South Carolina on, they've gone for 190, 188, 107 against Auburn, 173, and then 291 rushing. 291 against Vanderbilt. Now, I know that people say, well, it's Vanderbilt, They ran for 173 against Kentucky. That's a lot. They ran for 190 against South Carolina. That's a lot. These are pretty big numbers for a program that has always been about physicality and all that stuff. But these last 2 games, they have really ripped up the other side. 173 and 291. I mean, that's a lot of yards. So do you think that that's right? Do you think that what Greg is saying is true? Do you think that Georgia is a passing offense? He doesn't necessarily say they're a passing offense, but he's just talking about Carson Beck and what he's seen from Carson. I'm getting comfortable here in my EcoPoly chair. Make sure you're checking EcoPoly out. Our buddies from the heart of Georgia, they've got just so much available to you. I would start getting ready now in terms of your Christmas orders. Because just making sure that it's ready to go. Look, I mean, they've got so much on their website. Tables, chairs. They this is not some fly by night deal, y'all. This is a great company in the heart of Georgia, down in Eastman. They've got a lot of products. I'm not showing you all of them each time, obviously, but you can get a very nice outdoor set that you'll have for 20 years. Why do I know that? Because they have a 20-year warranty. You will, if something happens, they will replace it. Now I know these guys. They're not. I mean, that is what. If something happens, you're getting a replacement. Period. It's just what it is. And you can order that. It comes straight from their manufacturing center there, right in Eastman. So check them out today. The link is down below. You can get 15% off and free shipping. But what Greg is talking about is, and the only reason I've got pillows or pads here that they also can include. You can get that. I was just shifting that. It made me think about our buddies down there in Eco Poly. But with what Greg is saying, you know, this is going to be a big week for Carson Beck. I remember talking to Carson at Mandarin High School, saying to him that one day you'll play against Florida, and he said that that would be a really big deal for him. And I think we're at that week now. This is a big moment for him. He's played there in I don't really know what to call it because he keeps changing names so much. But at the site of the old Gator Bowl, he played there once in a long time ago, in a game that nobody would remember. It wasn't a high school game, but he said he lost that game, and this is a big moment in time for him, Georgia's program, because there are, I don't like to be doubts guy. I think that's really overplayed. Nobody's really doubting Georgia. Okay. You're a 15.5 point favorite over your arch rival on a neutral field, no less. You'd probably be almost a 20-point favorite in Athens. Maybe you'd be at 11 or 10 in Gainesville. That's a lot of points. No one's doubting who's going to win, but there's question about should Georgia still be the number one team in the country. Michigan's really come on and played well lately. Florida, these last two games, they're not the best games that Florida's played this season, but they're two of the three best games they've played this season. I mean, their best game was Tennessee, for sure. They got destroyed by Kentucky and Utah. Those are both physical teams. Guess who's coming to town? I've already started writing final feelings. It's probably going to be, it might be close to 6,000 words on Thursday that we're going to have. You do not want to miss final feelings. It's a very important part of what we do every Thursday over at Dog Post. That's a premium article. Okay. You're not just going to be able to read it if, that we've got a lot of free content that we want everybody to check out. But when we're writing 6,000 word articles, that's where the subscription value comes in. That's when you want to take advantage of that. So take a look for that on Thursday. And one of the things that I'm writing about in there is, this is tough for Florida getting into this thing. Georgia at times, specifically last week against Vanderbilt, 2 weeks, whatever it was, they've been a little too flippant with the ball. Like, the ball needs to stay in your possession if you're on offense. And, Georgia has not been great at that this season. They've put the ball in harm's way too much. I'll put it to you like that. But if this game doesn't have turnovers, I don't see a path for Florida to win this game. Like, it's going to be really challenging for them to win this game if there's no if Georgia doesn't turn it over. Florida's going to just have to straight up beat Georgia, and they're going to need. I don't know how that happens. I'm not. We try to tell y'all what we see as the truth. Okay, we are not going through this stuff where we don't have pom poms. That's not what Dog Post is. We tell you what we think. Right now, I think if you make the case that Michigan is the number one team in the country, I think that's a legitimate argument. I mean, I think that Georgia is not number 3, but I think that there's still work to be done to say, oh, well, you're the consensus number 1 team. No, Michigan's right there. I mean, Michigan's right there. They've not played anybody. I get that, but we don't care at Dog Post how you play. We care what you play like. How do you play? Not who do you play. And, this week Georgia plays the Gators, and it will be a big week for Carson Beck. But back to the original point. We've seen, of the 7 games Georgia's played, Georgia's thrown for at least 300 4 times. That's a lot. That's a lot of yards. That's a lot. Now, last week, no, because they were busy, running for 300 yards, basically. And when you run for 300 yards, it's hard to throw for 300 yards. You can do it, but you kind of run out of time and clock, and you only get so many possessions. If you have 10 possessions you're not going to be going for 100 yards each possession. You might be going for 700, 775, because that would assume you would score from a kickoff every single time. Well, that doesn't happen either, right? So 10, the absolute maximum seems to be that you could get 750 yards in a game. And, lately Georgia has been really getting a lot of yards. I mean, like last week, more than 500. The week before that, more than 600. Against Auburn, 400. Against UAB, looks like almost 600. I mean, like they're really racking up a lot of yardage. Well, I mean, Greg McElroy would tell you it's because you have a possible star coming. Those are my words. He said Carson Beck's only going to get better as time goes on. Well, this is a big week to get better, and it's in his hometown. We're going to see how Carson Beck reacts.